Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a little different than you guys normally get from me, but I just want to provide a little bit of encouragement, maybe some words of wisdom, tips, those types of things, for those of you who may be in a little bit of a season of discontentment. So stick around. So this is one of those videos that I'm just kind of talking on a whim, because I've had some thoughts and just kind of some things on my heart, in my head, you know, all that kind of stuff over the last couple of weeks. And I know that I am not the only person who has gone through a season of discontent, or, you know, you may be currently in that season, or maybe you haven't yet. But I feel like everybody goes through a time. So I hate to be the one to tell you, but there may come a time where you're just feeling a restlessness, a discontentment. You're just like, things just don't seem to be meshing. And maybe you just can't get yourself out of that. Now, this is coming from a person who is slowly emerging from this season of just being discontent, right? Not like overall unhappy, not, you know, I don't know. There's just, it was like this season where there was just, I couldn't put my finger on it. It was just something just wasn't working. I wasn't feeling myself. I wasn't doing things that I enjoyed. I kind of was, but then there was like no real joy behind it. It was just like, this is like kind of fun for now. And then it just kind of faded. There was no real follow through with that. And I feel that this is likely I feel like this season comes when there are big changes in our lives. So for me, it was once my daughter was born, you know, you go through the initial, this is really hard because you have a new baby and you don't get enough sleep and all of that kind of stuff. But then as the years go, it's like, at what point do things feel like they're back to normal? And I will touch on that in a minute, but it could be maybe you have a child that graduates and moves out. Maybe it could be that you have a child who, you know, an adult child that moves away, and that's a life-changing event. Maybe your husband takes a new job and you have to move. You know, there are various things, and maybe it could be nothing necessarily that happened. Maybe you just kind of find yourself in a situation where you're like, man, something is missing. I'm not feeling like myself. I'm feeling a little, I don't know, just not me. And so that is what I'm going to bring to you guys today, is just, again, kind of some things that I did consciously during my season of discontentment, but also kind of looking back. Now, again, that I've kind of come out of that a little bit, now looking back, I can see where things were helping and where things were hurting. But I do want to say this, going back to when will things get back to normal? When I think of people putting out the idea that women at some point after they become mothers will return to their old selves, I find that really hard to believe, because I don't think we were meant to. I don't think we were meant to go from single, carefree, or even just married and carefree and, you know, sure, you have your bills and your couple of things that you have to worry about, and you're, you know, learning about life and marriage and all those kinds of things. And then you become a mom, and then it's like this switch flips. There's like this maternal thing that happens, and like now you have another person. And so your worries are different, your views are different, things are just different. And I feel that instead of encouraging moms to not embrace those things, but instead encourage them to be who they were prior to children, I don't think that is helpful, because we are not who we were. We're different now. Things have changed. Life has changed. And that is true for all seasons of life. But in this particular video, I'm obviously talking about just motherhood in general. And again, I think we should be encouraging moms to embrace those things, embrace the changes, embrace that newfound worry, because that was given to us by God. He designed and created us that way, and so we should embrace those things. However, we have to do it in a way that is healthy and in a way that is not all-consuming. Because what I also found is that I got to the point where I was overwhelmed with just mom. We hear it all the time. I feel like I'm just a mom. That's all I do. I'm just a mom. I found that once having my daughter and getting through those first couple of years, it was almost like you lose yourself. You lose your identity, right? And I think that while there is beauty in that season, I think there are things that we can do to kind of get back to feeling like our old selves, feeling joy in who we are and how God created us. And I think sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. I talked about this in one of my videos. I don't know which one, but it was an issue that I saw with myself. Well, I actually talked about the opposite. I didn't take my role as homeschool mom seriously. It was just very kind of on a whim, and, you know, it was an extension of what I was already doing as a stay-at-home mom. So I didn't take that seriously in the sense of how meaningful and impactful this season of my life is. But I do think that we take ourselves too seriously. We have so much stress and worry, and we have these little babies and they're depending on us, and we want to do all the right things and buy all the things and, you know, go all the places and do all the stuff. But like in our everyday life, I feel like we put too much pressure on ourselves. We can't have fun. We can't let loose. We can't turn on music and dance in the kitchen. We can't, you know, do all these things because we are just so consumed with the mothering of the children, right? That we find sometimes it's hard to step away from that. I don't mean like step away. I mean, you can step away from your kids, you know, if necessary. So I don't necessarily mean, you know, hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying here. I don't mean step away from your kids, but like sometimes it's okay to let your kids see you enjoying life, whatever that looks like for you. For me, that is listening to music. I have a little speaker I put in our kitchen, and I have music going as much as I can because that's what I enjoy. It does not change the fact that I still have laundry to do. It does not change the fact that I have to pause that music when a situation comes up where I need to be correcting behavior or anything like that. It doesn't change the fact that I'm standing here cleaning dishes, cooking dinner. None of that changes. It just helps me enjoy those activities because I enjoy listening to music. And you could try that too. Just turn on some music. It doesn't have to be for any particular reason. It doesn't have to be any particular song or, you know, it doesn't have to be a method behind it. Just listen to music if that's what you enjoy, whatever music it is. And allow your kids to see you enjoying that and dance with them and laugh with them. And that to me made a huge difference. I realized how much I missed that. I used to be the person that rolled down all the windows and blasted the music all the way to work every morning. And that's how I started my morning. And then I would do it all the way home. I'm not going to and from work anymore. But why can't I still listen to the music? The music is what I liked. It wasn't the driving, I promise you. So turn on the music if that's what you like. And it's those things. I also found that getting myself dressed in the morning, and I know I have mentioned this too about you know, getting up and preparing for the day, and whatever that looks like for you. For me, that also made a difference because, again, I just felt like it's just like, okay, this is just what we're doing. What day is it? It's Tuesday. Okay. You know, and we just going through the motions, and it was like, what am I even doing here? You know, like, sure, she's alive and she's fed and she's happy, but like, what are we doing here? Get up, get dressed. Sometimes curl your hair, sometimes put it in a bun, sometimes wear leggings, sometimes wear a dress, whatever you feel like. But I think taking that little step, that little initiative to put some effort into what you look like, I think that really helps. It really helped me just kind of get out of like my mom mode, sort of. I don't know how to explain it. It was like, if I just stayed in pajamas all day, it just felt like I'm just being lazy and I'm just laying around. I could get the same things accomplished in my pajamas as I do in, you know, shorts and a t-shirt. But for whatever reason, having shorts and a t-shirt on made me feel so much more accomplished than when I did it in my pajamas. So maybe try that. Try getting dressed for the day. Again, whatever that looks like for you, just put a little bit of effort into, you know, kind of getting yourself together every morning. And I know sometimes that is easier said than done. I went through that season 2 where you don't even want to look in your closet. Okay. I have been there 100%. It's a process, but I just challenge you and encourage you to put forth a little bit of that effort and just see what happens, right? We see what happens. Another thing, kind of looking back on that time period, was I didn't realize at the time, obviously, because I'm looking back now, who is speaking into you? What things are you consuming? And I say this because I read a lot of books. I followed a lot of people on social media. And while a lot of the things that I read were positive and were meant to be encouraging and, you know, tips and tricks and those kinds of things, I found that sometimes I was consuming so much that it was actually doing the opposite. It was making me feel as though I'm not doing any of this right? Like you read 2 or 3 books in a row that are, you know, helpful on parenting and homeschooling and all of this stuff. And then it's like, you get so far in, you're like, well, I'm not doing any of this. And I'm so terrible at all of these things that I can't manage to do all this stuff. And then it just spirals into feeling as though you don't have any of it figured out, which we don't. However, I don't need that constant reminder, right? I need a reminder to bring joy into my house. I need true encouragement. I need the reminder of, you're going to be okay. Lean into God. He will work it out for you. He will equip where he has called. Just, you know, sure, here are a couple things maybe you can try, but like, just try them, see what happens. And between you, God, and that kid, y'all will figure it out. You know, like sometimes I don't need someone to step by step tell me all the things that I need to do to master this thing, because I can't keep up with all those steps. Take a gander at the books that you're reading. Are you finding that you get finished with the book and you're like, man, I feel overwhelmed with the amount of things I need to do based off of what I read in this book? Or do you read the book and you say, well, I never really thought about it that way. Those were some really good tips and that was helpful. I can manage a couple of these. There's a very big difference between the overwhelm of this is what I have to do and the, okay, well, that's a good idea. I didn't look at it from that perspective. I'm going to try these couple things and see what happens. These are 2 very different things. And if the overwhelm is all that you're feeling, I would encourage you to do something else. Find something else to read. Maybe just put them down for a while. Those are the books that I read the most and enjoy the most. but I find that I gotta space them out. Your girl was reading like, 3 and 4 of those back to back within just a couple of months. And it was just like, holy moly, I am not doing this right. I found that if I kind of space them out a little bit, that I don't feel so overwhelmed. And same with social media, kind of going back to that. Are there people who present perspectives to you that challenge you positively? And I'll give you an example. Shelby Marianne, I follow her on Instagram. She ain't my friend. She has no idea I exist, none of that kind of stuff. But I do follow her. And she is one of those people, for me, that encourages me to have a positive perspective. She always points me back to the Lord and always, encourages this idea that you get to, not that you have to. I was such a sucker for that. I have to do laundry. I have to do this. I have to do that. Y'all, I get to do those things. If it was not for the Lord's grace and his blessing on our family and my marriage and my husband and all the things working to his good, I would not be in the position that I am. And what a wonderful blessing that is. It felt like once I changed my perspective to I get to instead of I have to, that opened up the door for a lot more joy. And it allowed me to, just find joy in the things that didn't seem very exciting. That doesn't mean that laundry is my favorite chore now, but like, it is what it is. We got to have clean clothes. I'm the one who's home that generally does the laundry. And so that's what I get to do. I get to do the laundry for everybody to make sure everybody has clean clothes. Like, instead of just putting this negative connotation on these things, when we flip it and try and make it a positive thing, it doesn't feel so bad. So the moral of the story here is, if you are in a season of feeling discontent and you are trying to find a way to get out of that rut, I encourage you to just do everything you can to step out of that for a second. Just kind of take a step back, try and give yourself a moment and challenge yourself. What are the things that you can do now that also brought you joy before you were a mother? Again, for me, that was listening to music. Maybe for you, that's reading certain books. Maybe for you, that was sewing. Maybe, I don't know what that was for you, but there are things that you can do that brought you joy then that will still bring you joy now, because that is how God designed you. He designed you to enjoy whatever those things are. So like, you should do that with with also knowing that like it may not look exactly the same as it did then. Again, I would jam out to work every morning and on my way home from work every morning. I'm not doing that now. I'm just doing it in my kitchen while I'm doing all of my chores. But like, it's the music that brought me the joy. And so know that it may look different for you. Maybe it's painting. You may not get through the entire painting today, but like, what would 15 or 20 minutes of painting look like? Whatever that thing is, or those things are, try and incorporate those into yourself and allow yourself to be happy. We do not always have to, as mothers, be this, I've got to guide, I've got to lead, I've got to correct, I've got to do. Sometimes like, y'all, just enjoy them. If there are moments to be enjoyed, y'all, enjoy them. They are going so fast and we know it. And the world is screaming at us to slow down and enjoy them. And sometimes that is so hard, and not every moment is meant to be enjoyed. But if you have them, enjoy them. It's okay. You can stop and sing a song with them and dance with them and sit down on the floor and play a game. It's going to be okay. It is going to do so much for them and for you. So just take a minute. It's all right. Take a look at who's speaking into your life. What are the things you are consuming, and are they overwhelming or are they inspiring you? If they're overwhelming you, stop doing them. Stop looking at them. Stop listening to them. Stop reading them. If it's creating overwhelm and making you feel like, you know, the bar is so high, you can never attain it, don't read it. Don't read it. The only thing that you should be reading, 100% is the Bible. And so that's it. If there is nothing else that you read, that's good. That's all you need. Okay? So just stop reading the books that tell you, you have to be a certain way, look a certain way, do a certain thing. You do as God calls you to do. And that's it. Okay? And then take some time to get ready. I say that kind of like just because that's a thing that helped me. That may not necessarily be a thing that helps you. I don't really know. None of these things may be things that help you, but that was a thing that helped me. Just getting up, spending a little bit of time. Some mornings it's an hour, some mornings it's 5 minutes, but I try and just do just a little bit. And I hope that was encouraging to you guys. I hope maybe somehow there was a little bit of words of wisdom in there that helps you guys and maybe kind of gives you something to think on and ponder on. But I think that's it for today's video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.